What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Golf on Tap. We'll be going through our final bets for this week's Genesis Invitational, the third of 8 signature events on the PGA Tour schedule this year. Torrey Pines hosting the Genesis this year, as unfortunately Riviera Country Club was impacted by the Los Angeles wildfire. So we're back, Joey, at Torrey for the second time in 4 weeks. Coming off yet another electric performance at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. The tournament never lets us down. However, for I think just the fourth time in the last 23 years, we got a winner that didn't come by only one stroke or via a playoff. Is Thomas Dietrich, of all people, wins by a touchdown. Joey, I saw an amazing tweet on Sunday that said, when Patrick Mahomes shows Thomas Dietrich dog and Thomas Dietrich shows Patrick Mahomes dog. I mean, it was a completely backwards Sunday. But as someone who's been along the Thomas Dietrich ride these last few years, and I can even recall back in 2022 when we first started doing this show and Thomas Dietrich was first establishing himself on the PGA Tour, never had won on the DP World Tour, up until last week had never won on the PGA Tour either, but Thomas Dietrich surprises us both and gets it done at a golf course where we thought dog is exactly what you need. And as I told you before recording, if a player didn't have dog or have balls going into this week, I kind of crossed him off my betting card. Thomas Dietrich was legitimately at that bottom of the list before this week. Joey, give me your reaction as someone who's been along the Dietrich ride to watch him win by a touchdown at TPC Scottsdale.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I don't want anyone to think I'm serious. But when it was happening in real time, I wanted him dead. And that's because, like you said, I don't know how many times I've bet him and been a believer of Thomas Dietrich. And the top 40s I was taking him at, and the outright sprinkles and all that. And for him to do that, not just win, for him to destroy the whole field at Waste Management, one of the nuttiest environment places that you can do it at, and just third round, fourth round, doesn't matter. I'm going to shove it down your throat. Infuriating.
Did you have him at Pebble Beach?
I think I had him at Pebble Beach too. Yeah.
Fucking Christ.
I had him last week. I'm almost positive.
That is painful, man. And literally, he looked unflappable out there.
And there were reasons why I'm pretty sure, I know we mentioned him, and there were reasons why he looked like an option last week. I'm not going to sit here and say it was a total surprise that he golfed well. But the fact that he didn't drop the ball and completely fumble it in typical Thomas Dietrich fashion is mind-blowing to me. And I even told you, I said, Scotty Scheffler, I'm calling it now, is coming back and he's going to finish runner-up. And I don't know where that came from. I just thought, well, that's what's going to happen. That didn't end up happening either. But Dietrich, I can't believe this. I'm still pissed off. I can't get over it right now, and I'm happy for him because I think this is probably going to cure the late round woes or dropping the ball type of stuff that's been happening with Dietrich. I really think that he could come on and be good moving forward. But man, it pisses me off because we actually had a couple of guys that were up there.
Mav
was the one guy really for me. I didn't
Bobby Mack who gave it a run, but yeah, him and Mav were our only real hopes.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm happy for him. It turned out to be a shitty Super Bowl. It turned out to be a shitty Waste Management. I did get that first round leader, which kind of made up for it, I guess, a little bit. Like you said, you had the great call last week. You said when he golfs well, when Wyndham golfs well, it's typically he's going to show it early. And that's exactly what he did. And then he kind of fell off the rails too. So,
does it.
That's just him. He's really volatile that way. That made up for the Super Bowl for me too. I didn't come out really far ahead with either of them, but I mean, terrible bets pretty much across the board. I mean, between the Waste Management and the Super Bowl outside of that first round leader. So, hey man, sometimes you just gotta make a little bit to keep on playing. So that's That's kind of how it feels from this last weekend, man. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it didn't go all that well for me either. Would have been real great if Brant Snedeker had held up his end of the bargain and snuck into the top 40. And I texted you on Sunday afternoon, like, Sneds is making a little bit of a run here. He was either like 3 or 4 under through 12. I'm like, this old bag, he's giving us his all today. He was making it a sweat, but he bogeyed 3 of the last 5. D-Hop goes on to score a touchdown. And that was a pick we gave out right live on the show, was the Sneds top 40 parlayed with a D-Hop touchdown. It was like 30-1. D-Hop ends up scoring. So tough that Sneds couldn't wind up backdooring his way into that top 40 there. Bobby Mack, he was right there in terms of making a charge. He had 2 chips that both missed by like an inch, a couple of putts that grazed the edge, and then the par 5s on the back really took him out of it and prevented him from like legitimately getting on Thomas Dietrich's heels. Didn't look like it would have mattered though, because even when Daniel Berger he chipped in to save par. He made a clutch putt on 15 that had Dietrich have missed his short putt after, it would have cut the lead down to 2 shots with 3 holes left to play. A lot of risk reward type of holes left, especially the stadium hole, the atmosphere around the 16th. You would have thought that would have provided some nerves for Thomas Dietrich, but just unflappable the entire time, man. I certainly didn't expect it to happen. I was texting you, texting numerous friends throughout the week, like, listen, I'm not buying this baloney from Thomas Dietrich right now that he's minus 18 all by himself. I know about this guy's background. He's going to go and gag this bad boy, or at least open it up for some guys to have a chance. And you mentioned Scotty winning the thing and Dietrich finishing runner-up. It looked like that was a possibility with the way that Scotty got off to his start on Sunday morning before fading there a little bit. But happy you got to cash the Wyndham Clark first-round leader ticket to make the Thomas Dietrich victory that you sadly were not a part of. A little bit of a easier pill to swallow. Another great tidbit that we gave out here live on the show when we were going through our final bets. Just another reason that you should all be following Golf on Tap wherever you listen to your podcast. 100% free. Quick plug as well. Jump on over into the YouTube feed so you can interact with us throughout the episode. Let us know who you're going to be tailing, and subscribe to On Tap Sportsnet over on YouTube as well. The best way that you can show some support. But Joey, I know we didn't cash the outright ticket, but you did cash the FRL ticket. Hopefully that gives us some good mojo going over to the Genesis Invitational. We don't really have to dive into the course all that much, I think, here on the show, because as I mentioned off the top, we were at Torrey Pines a couple of weeks ago. Yes, it is a different field. It's a signature event, so the best of the best are here, except for Xander Schauffele, as he still continues to rehab from his rib injury. Tiger Woods, man, stinks that he's not part of the field, as it looked like he was going to be making the tournament debut, but still getting over the passing of his mother last week, which is real tough timing for him. So hopefully we'll be able to see Tiger sometime soon, but we know what to expect out of Torrey Pines, Joey. It's a long and demanding U.S. Open style test, longest course on the PGA Tour, small greens, really quick and heavily sloped POA putting surfaces, 4-inch Kikuyu grass rough. When we were here for the Farmers just a couple of weeks ago, Harris English took it down at -8. It was actually the first time we had seen a single-digit winner here, in a while. Hideki Matthew Pavon, won the year prior at -13. Homa won at -13 in 2023. Luke List, ya boy, who you had over Will Zalatoris in a playoff, won here in 2022 at -15. And then Patrick Reed in 2021 won at -14. Obviously, this isn't the Farmers Insurance Open. It's the Genesis Invitational, where Hideki is serving as the defending champion. But with Torrey Pines being the host course, I don't really think it makes all that much sense to be talking about the previous winners of the Genesis Invitational. So expect a winning score, especially, Joey, with the conditions looking like what it's going to be on Thursday and Friday. Windy. It's going to be cold throughout the 4 days, but especially on Thursday and Friday, windy and rainy. So it's going to play tough. Those opening 36 holes, I wouldn't be surprised if we got another winner in the single digits, or if one single person posted in double digits in order to get the job done. But those are the types of tournaments we like. We enjoy watching these pampered fucks, if you will, get challenged out there on the PGA Tour. It doesn't happen enough. So excited to see everything get into play this week, my friend.
Yeah, like you said, we don't need to dive too deep into the course itself since we just saw it, literally. But yeah, this is fun, man. Like I love seeing those low scores like that, like the Harris English. Was surprised that it was Harris English. I think you know, it might have been somebody that you had mentioned on, but I don't know if anyone really had him on the card. Like I know I didn't for this. So it's not somebody who, I mean, he's not getting much respect here too. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but he's not getting the respect like he just won. So at this very exact course. So a lot of interesting things. I mean, this is going to be a lot better of a field than we saw for that tournament. So that's another part of it too. So maybe we do see some better scores here. And like you said, maybe there's a guy or two that sneak into that double digit range and make this really interesting. But, you were talking about, you can't really look at Genesis Invitational history because it's not going to be played at the Riviera. But I was looking back at the history just out of curiosity. And last year I actually live bet Hideki at plus 450 mid tournament and got that. So that was, just looking at from a dollar standpoint, that was pretty nice. But plus 450 isn't like, something to be, it wasn't like a tournament call that I made. I don't even know if we did a show. We might have done a show last year.
I'm pretty sure we did. Because I I went back and actually looked at my card from last year as well in my article. I bet Scotty last year at the Genesis. I think it was my only time betting Scotty last year. I used boost and got him up to plus 950, and it was funny, Joey. The first line of my reasoning on backing Scotty Scheffler in my article was, it feels like Scotty Scheffler is on the verge of something special. And yeah, he was on the verge of something fucking special. He went on to win 7 times the rest of the year. Unfortunately, I wasn't on him. Yeah, I tailed him, Keegan, Wyndham, and Emiliano Grillo last year. Hideki came from way behind. He was 6 shots back going into Sunday and shot 9 under 62 to steal this bad boy. One of the craziest final rounds that I've ever seen. But before we do go into the odds boards here real quick, Joey, I don't want to dive into stats all that much too much because tee to green play, total driving, long iron proximity, POA putting. It's all stuff we talked about when we did the show for the Farmers Insurance Open. And I have a course preview article like I do every single week. So if you want to get into the nitty gritty more on Torrey Pines and the key stats and what I modeled for this week, you can go and check that out there at ontapsportsnet.com. But the one thing I did want to bring up real quick, because while neither of us were on Harris English, I don't know necessarily if we had brought him up, he did fill into this interesting correlating stat. Now, 6 of the past 7 winners of the Farmers Insurance Open, Joey, with Matthew Pavon being the outlier because he was a PGA Tour rookie. It's not because of the circumstances. He just didn't play the year prior. But 6 of the past 7 winners of the Farmers Insurance Open have recorded a high-end finish, a top 15 at a similarly demanding golf course in the previous year. Either the previous year's Farmers Insurance Open, the Genesis Invitational, Riviera Country Club, the Memorial Tournament, Murfield Village, and the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. Those are all very similar, long demanding, thick rough, long courses, true tee to green tests that are featured in the non-major schedule on the PGA Tour. 6 of the past 7 winners in the year prior to winning the Farmers Insurance Open had posted a high-end finish at one of those courses that I just mentioned. Harris English finished 7th at the Genesis Invitational the year prior. He was also T21 at the Arnold Palmer Invitational and T19 at Valhalla for the PGA Championship. Max Homa finished 10th at Riviera for the Genesis and 5th at Murfield for the Memorial before his win in 2023. List was 10th at Torrey Pines in 2021 before winning in 2022. Reed was 6th at Torrey Pines and 10th at the Memorial in 2020 before winning in 2021, and Mark Leishman was 4th at Riviera and 5th at Murfield Village before winning in 2020. So just guys who have a lot of good experience on these similar golf courses. I think it's really worthwhile going back and looking at some of those leaderboards from the year past just to see who has consistently popped up on those tracks. So it is something that I did want to mention on the show briefly, but you got anything else you wanted to put out there before we go and get into the odds board, Joey?
No, I like that you mentioned that though, because some of those courses like Bay Hill and those Merrifield, like those are some courses that I actually put into my model this week. So I didn't put a whole lot of weight onto it, but I didn't realize that there was that much of a correlation there. But I do like what you just mentioned, because now that's got me intrigued, and maybe I'll go back and actually look at some of the results behind those instead of just the strokes gain numbers. So yeah, that's good stuff.
I actually did a very similar thing in my model. I had them all in the model, but weighted very lowly. I just kind of want it there as background info, but not something that's like the driving force of my model. But I do think it is worthwhile to look at just guys who usually do well on golf courses that ask you to hit it long and straight from tee to green. But getting over to the odds board over at Odds Checker, as a reminder, always make sure to shop and get the best odds out there. That's what we always try to make sure to instill into all of our viewers and our listeners, because why would you leave any dollar on the table? Fuck the sports books. We're trying to take them for all their money. Top of the board, Joey. We'll go under 25 to 1. It's a big 6 at the top of the board. We got the boogeyman, Scotty Scheffler, at plus 500, I know is out there at Bet Rivers Enhanced. There might even be a plus 525 from the fine folks over at Bet365. I unfortunately do not have access to that book, but the biggest number we've seen on Scotty in quite some time in a 72-man field feels pretty fair. Rory McIlroy at 7 to 1, and then we have Collin Morikawa at 16, Justin Thomas at 18, Decky, ya boy, at 22, who we can neither ever put our finger on, and then Luddy F. Baby rounding things out at 22 to 1 as well. Give me your thoughts or bets that you already have in here from the top of the board.
You really can't go wrong with any of these guys. So I just have to wipe out the very top, and it's just a numbers game, obviously. And this is something we talk about every week, but long shots have been hitting. So I'm really just going to wipe out Scotty. I'm going to wipe out Rory, even though I think, if you can get that 12 to 1 and that 14 to 1 number, those are good numbers. Like when we're just looking at them, isolating them. But I think, is that accurate with Collin? Does he have a 25 hanging right there?
So my odds checker is only giving me DraftKings and FanDuel right now because I use it so much throughout the week.
I'm in the same boat.
Actually, nope. Sometimes when I refresh it, it gives me all of the odds. Is there a what on Collin? No, the biggest number out there is 16 on Collin.
That's what I thought. Okay,
I have 6 books right here. It's Scotty at plus 450. Although, like I said, I know there's 5 at Bet Rivers Enhanced. 7 to 1 on Rory is the best I see. 16 on Collin, 18 on JT, and then 22 on Ludwig, 25 on Decky is the best number out there. That's what Odds Checker showing me right now.
You know what I screwed up? When I was looking at Odds Checker, it had first round leader up.
Oh, I was going to say.
No wonder why they were a lot farther. I'm like 12 to 1 Scotty. I was like, wait, should I rethink this mid sentence?
You were saying those numbers, and I knew something was funky. I was like, are you looking at the UK version of this, bro, or what's going on?
Well, sometimes when you ramble through the numbers like that too, it's like I'm so used to seeing them that it's just like I kind of tune that part out of the conversation. No, but you're right. I still, like I said, I'm still gonna wipe out those 2 top guys there, like Scheffler and Rory. Who Rory is, he's on it, man. He's on it. He's probably the one I'm the most afraid of. Even I'm more afraid of him than Scotty this week. Which I'm still afraid of Scotty, but the 2 guys that I really wanted to bet, and JT seems like he's really turning things around here. I don't see a win far away from his future. The 2 guys I really, really wanted to bet is Collin Morikawa and Hideki Matsuyama. Collin and I have bet him here before.
Same.
I really, really think he's winning this week. I think he's winning this week. I hate the number personally. Like I think that 16 to 1 or 14 to 1 number for him is just not. It's just not. I just don't love it. So I'm really trying to decide if I want to start there or if I want to just go lower with the way that these long shots have been at least giving us a shot. Like if I got 1 or 2 guys that are going to give us a sweat on day 4, I don't care. I'll take the odds there that maybe they can pull through and win the tournament. But he's got a pretty damn good track record here with Collin. He's 5th in approach over the last 12 rounds, 4th place finish at the U.S. Open in the 2020-2021 season, 3rd place a couple of years ago. He's 4th in the field in strokes gained at Torrey Pines as a whole for this field. 4th in strokes gained on hard courses, 6th in stroke gained on long courses. So I think Morikawa can just definitely get it done with his irons. This is a place where I would expect him to just have a really good tournament, regardless if he wins or not. Like I'm seeing top 10, and I really do think that this is a Colin Morikawa week. So the more I say that, the more I feel like I should probably just bet him anyways, no matter if I like the number or not, because we've been down that road before. But and then Hideki, of course. I mean, this is a terrific place for him too, even though we were talking about it not being at the same course as the Riviera. But I think Torrey Pines is just a great spot for him as well. He has 2 top 10s, 5 top 20s at Torrey Pines, 8th in the field in strokes gained at Torrey Pines, 4th in scrambling over the last 24 rounds, and that could be really big and important this week. So I don't know. I was really debating on whether I wanted to start the card with either of these two. The more I talk about it, the more I feel like I'm probably going to go Morikawa, but I don't know. What are your thoughts up here?
Yeah, very intriguing top of the board. You can make conversations for a lot of them. Scotty, I don't really care too much what happened to Scotty down the stretch on Sunday. I think once he missed that putt on 9, he knew he wasn't going to win and kind of lollygagged it down the finishing stretch. I really don't have concerns about Scotty. Like, he's going to be fine and he's going to win sooner rather than later. I do think it's weird his around the green has been super off in his first 2 starts back, and I feel like that's going to be a vital part of him winning this week. I also don't really love Scotty ever on just strictly POA putting surfaces. It's one of the putting surfaces he actually hasn't won on in his career. So even though he's got good number, I passed on him. Rory, I do think, is super interesting as well, especially if the course plays softer. Like, that's just another way for Rory with his distance to separate himself on this type of course that's going to play even longer because it's soft. Gain strokes with the putter, gain massive strokes on approach last time out that led to the win at Pebble Beach. Like, if he does that, driving the way he does, he's going to be very tough to beat. The thing for me and Rory is I like him better on easier setups, even though he has done really well at U.S. Opens over the years, and this is a U.S. Open style venue. I mean, Rory can absolutely go and win, but I usually am more inclined to bet Rory when a winning score is going to be like minus 15 to minus 20, and I don't really see that being the case this week. And when Rory has to scramble, that's kind of when he can get into trouble sometimes. So I passed on the top of the board as well. I did really give it a long thought this week, though. Like, getting Scotty at that number, Rory playing as well as he is motivated. Like, I gave it a long look. I've been, I've chased Colin. I chased him a lot last year, didn't end up paying. I've kind of chased JT as of late, but I'm not really down that rabbit hole that deep. I don't feel like I have to chase it again this week. I'm out on Justin Thomas because of the driver. I'm actually out on Colin Morikawa too. Firstly, because of the number. Guys under 20-1 who have won in the last year are Xander, Rory, and Scotty. I've bet Colin a lot under 20-1. It will be tough if I miss it, but on a softer course, Morikawa's accuracy is always going to play on these types of golf courses, but when he doesn't get rollout, I feel like when it's not a firm golf course, I feel like the rest of his game has to be so much better to beat the top tier guy because he doesn't have that distance. You know what I mean? Like, on longer golf courses, I like it. I think I like him a little bit more where it's firmer, so he gets some rollout that gives him some help on distance. But there's a lot of good reasons to like Colin. Obviously, has the 3rd place finish here, the T4 at the U.S. Open. I actually did bet him here in 2024, the last time he teed it up here. Had a great round 1 and then played awful in round 2 and wound up missing the cut. And I was like, because of course. I actually ended up starting my card at Luddy F Baby, dude. I haven't bet him in a long time. It's been a while since I've bet Ludwig. And I feel like this is just a price that we're not going to see around his name for very often. And I just believe in the talent, even though it wasn't very good his last time out here or last time out in general at Pebble Beach. He had to withdraw after a terrible round 1. Had the 18-hole lead, though, the last time he played here, albeit at the North Course, but then got super sick and kind of gagged it over those final 36 holes and wound up finishing T42. But quite honestly, I'm willing to brush that to the side for a guy who was the first round leader on this golf course and finished T9 here in his tournament debut. Just knowing what Ludwig does well. He drives the ball long and straight when he's on. That's always going to play at this style of golf course. And it's tough to feel confident that that's going to happen again when like the stats in his last couple of starts don't look good. But again, he was sick, and we know what he's like when he's right. He's a really good long iron player, hits a ton of fairways, hits a lot of greens, gives himself chances. He can scramble. It's been an issue for him on weekends, and I do worry about him missing some short putts, but 22-1, I actually got him up to 25-1 with a boost. Was just too good for me to pass up on a kid with the talent of Ludwig, and we've seen him in tournament debuts on super hard courses rack up high-end finishes. I mentioned the T9 in his debut at Torrey Pines last year. He was T19 at Riviera in his tournament debut there. T5 at the Memorial last summer in his tournament debut. And now he and Joe Scovron, his caddy, this is their third time they're going to be able to play this golf course together. And I liked hearing Ludwig today. Not that this actually holds any weight whatsoever, but he said today to the broadcast he's got a little payback, he feels like, to give to Torrey Pines. So I think he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder to prove everyone right. I just really like the number. Yeah, there's some concerns about his play on the weekend and his scrambling, but ultimately I just think he's too talented for me to pass up at that price.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, he's shown it here very early on. So I think that this is great. And the driver, that's just going to come into huge play here.
I think so. And when it's wet too, like he has the length and the accuracy, the total driving ability. I really like Ludwig. Hideki is so interesting, man. Lost strokes off the tee in 3 consecutive starts. All of them have been for over a stroke. But still last week, he gained 3.5 strokes with his irons, nearly 5 strokes around the green. He lost almost a stroke and a half off the tee and still gained almost 7 strokes from tee to green. Like, even when Hideki's like off, he can still make it look good. Like, his approach game has been so good. We know his around the green play always plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what's tough though, because I feel like, how long is his driver going to be down for? You know, like, I don't think it's going to be too long. Like, he's a guy that, I don't know, I just wouldn't expect it to be down for too long. So yeah, I'm very scared of Hideki this week too. I'm with you.
Just can never put my finger on him. But moving into the next range here, we'll go between 33 and 45 and under. So we got Cantlay at 33, Sungjae at 35, Højgaard, who made a nice run last week, Pendrith, Tommy, Never Tommy at 40, along with Tony Finau, and then Spieth, Bobby, Mack, and Shane Lowry at 45. You got interest in this range? I got a couple.
I do too, yeah. I think I'm going to have to go with Sungjae. I mean, he's just a course target, I think, of course, on long courses. And he's been scrambling really well. Last 4 trips to Torrey Pines, T4, miscut, T4, T6. And I think that this is definitely a course that you want to go after guys that have really good course history. So I really like Sungjae this week. Spieth, I have been kind of not on him lately.
Can't tell you the last time I bet Jordan Spieth.
But, man, I think this could be a week where I do it. 2nd in strokes gain on hard courses, 7th in total driving. He has the distance.
Yeah, even last year when he was hurt, he drove the shit out of the golf ball.
Yeah, and I think I mean, it was T4 last week. I think he's starting to get in rhythm. This could be a nice area to get a win for Jordan Spieth. So those are the 2 that I am probably going to bet here. Of course, I mean, you know, I'm always kind of looking at Jason Day, but I'm not going to do it this week.
We're not there yet. We'll get to J Day in a second. Under 50.
Gotcha.
That's all you got in that range, though?
That's all I got, yep.
Sungjae, super interesting. Super interesting. I don't like the number to win, but I like if it was 35-1 to hang around and finish T3, I'd bet that number.
Bet top 10, top 5.
It honestly might be the play for me personally, but
right.
I understand the reasoning for Sungjae. I think Rasmus Højgaard is a really good fit here. I'm not going to bet him at 40-1, but he absolutely nukes the golf ball. I would like Rasmus Højgaard, Joey, if this was the Farmers Field from 2 weeks ago where there's a bunch of jabronis, and if you just hit the ball a long way, like, you're probably going to be good. Like, shout out our guy, Aldrich Potater. Like, Rasmus Højgaard in a weaker field would absolutely fuck on this golf course. I could see him finishing like T11. Taylor Pendrith, super popular this week, not getting to him at 40-1. Never Tommy, although I do think like a U.S. Open style test is interesting for Tommy. I'm never going to bet him at 40-1, and his game has not been very good recently, and he never plays here. He must not really like this place. Finau loves this place. His game is in shambles right now. Can't bet Tony at 40-1. The two
He's
that
like
were
not quite Max Homa level, but yeah, he's down right now.
Yeah, and there's no parts of his game that are showing consistency. But if you go look at Finau's track record here, like, he absolutely slaps at Torrey Pines. But the two I really looked at in this range, I only ended up getting to one of them. Bobby Mack, who I was on last week. And like I said, had a couple of putts dropped, he might have been the guy to give Thomas Dietrich a little bit of a run there. And his tee to green play has been awesome for like a year now. I just don't know if I like Bobby Mack on a true POA type of putting greens here, but the wind and the weather like sounds right up Bobby Mack's alley, and 45-1 feels like a fair number for a guy who's won like 2 times in his last 20 starts. I actually got to your boy Shane Lowry.
I was looking at Lowry. I was looking at Lowry hardcore. Tell me why. Yeah.
I haven't been on the Lowry train in a long time. I think it's been since like the Florida swing last year. Like, I really don't bet Shane Lowry because I really don't believe he can win very often. But his game is really good right now, man. And he played well at Pebble Beach. He beat everyone not named Rory McIlroy. He gained 7 strokes to the field. He gained strokes putting in all 4 rounds on POA surfaces at Pebble Beach, which I thought was intriguing. He's finished inside the top 20 in 9 of his last 10 starts. And I know a lot of those have come on the DP World Tour, and some of his stats kind of get inflated over there. Like, his iron numbers compared to some of the guys on the DP World Tour are absolutely nuts. But what's interesting is his only non-top 20 in his last 10 starts came here at Torrey Pines. But if you look at the numbers for Shane Lowry, he actually gained strokes in both rounds. He just got on the wrong side of the weather draw and ended up missing the cut. And it's not like he has a ridiculous history around here or anything, but he does have 3 top 25s. He finished T7 in his tournament debut. A guy who, whenever the conditions get tough, like we saw at Pebble Beach a couple of weeks ago, he's a guy who knows how to make pars, keep his ball in play. And the tee to green game has been excellent for him. And a big thing for Lowry as well that I really like, well, I do definitely worry about 5-footers on Sunday. I mean, that's always the worry about Shane Lowry. Really good lag putter. The announcers actually jinxed him at the Farmers when they played here last. He had gone like 100 and something straight holes without a 3-putt, and then like 3-putted 3 holes later. But a guy who like always avoids 3-putts, has really good approach putt performance, which means if he misses putts, it's usually really close to the hole. Doesn't give himself those like testy 6 to 7 footers that you see basically everyone have to make on like every hole here because the greens just run so fast and they're so bumpy. So yeah, a lot of reasons pointing to Shane Lowry. I think he was 9th in my model this week. Tee to green has been outstanding. Feels like he's knocking on the door for a win. So yeah, Shane Lowry 45-1, someone I don't bet very often. If he burns me, he burns me, but I think that's a fair number for his chances in these conditions.
I think it's more than fair, and I love the point that you're making about the tough conditions. To make you feel even better and make me even more scared, he was 6th in my model this week.
Lovely.
So, yeah, I think that's a good call.
I'm hoping so. Played well last time out. We'll see if he can do it in the conditions again and hopefully not get roried. Moving down to this, we'll go between 50 and 70. So we got some interesting names in this range for sure. Your boy, oh, what a beautiful Jason Day. We got Tom Kim, Sam Burns, the Septic Tank, Sepp Straka at 50-1, Willie Z, Mr. Torrey Pines at 50, then Mav, your boy Tommy Dietz at 55, along with Victor Hovland, and then Keegan, Minwoo, Russell Hollywood Henley at 60, and then Cameron Young and Wyndham Clark at 70. I know that's a lot of names that we wanted to move through this a little quick around the show today. Joey, what do you got in this range?
So I can understand, like, I don't know, there's a few guys in here that I'm looking at, but I get reasoning why some of these others are popular, like Adam Scott. Like, I get that. I mean, he's loved by so many this week. Couple of top tens and a runner up here, but I'm just not running to bet him. Same thing with Jason Day. I feel like he's one of the best in the field, lifetime at Torrey Pines, but obviously has a couple wins here. I'm gonna go ahead and bet Dietrich.
You're gonna run it back?
I'm gonna run it back 55-1. I know it sounds crazy.
You psycho.
I know.
This is what he wants you to do.
Dude, if anyone's donating on Thomas Dietrich, it's going to be me, okay?
I understand.
It's ridiculous.
I just had to poke you a little bit about it. I understand it, man. Listen, and here's the biggest thing why I understand Thomas Dietrich. Sorry to interrupt you. When we talked about him at Pebble Beach, you brought him up, and I laughed because his stat profile, it was just so hilarious for so long. Absolutely nukes off the tee, can make any putt ever until it's Sunday. And everything in between is just absolute dog shit. Last week at Phoenix, he gained 7 strokes with his irons, like by far the best iron performance of his career. And if he does that, like
that shit, dude.
If he does that, Thomas Dietrich can be a real player.
He's lifting that shit too. Like, he hits it high.
Dude, hits it so high. That's important here.
It is important. I feel like you're going to get it to stick, and you might even be able to play closer to the pins that way. So I think Dietrich's in play here. I mean, he shot 74 in the final round at the Farmers. Obviously, the final round always fucking kills him, right?
Where was that 74 this past Sunday, asshole?
I don't know, man, but I'm trying to get over it. But I mean, each of the other rounds he was minus 71. So if he would have done that, he would have finished.
He was minus 71. Thomas Dietrich's minus 71 in all 3 other rounds.
Minus 71. Or sorry, yeah, minus 7. Not minus 71.
I was like, holy shit.
He shot a 71. He shot 71. I don't know why it wrote that way. I was doing like bullet points on my notes.
Got him.
Yeah, you got me. That was a little behind the scenes. Fucked me over. I don't know. I think he's got the wind under the belt, obviously. So I feel like, he's been my guy, man. I got to go back to him here. If it makes sense, it makes sense. Do I think he's going to do it 2 weeks in a row after it took so long? Probably not, but I do like the number. I think Thagala. Did you get to Thagala and calling these guys out?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It's like your favorite thing to do on the show.
I'm skipping around like freaking crazy right
50
now.
50 to 75. 50 to 75.
Okay, so there's nobody. I feel like it was Harris English. You got better numbers than this, though, the 75. I'm seeing him at 75. I'm seeing him at 80, 90.
Your odds checker's fucked, man.
I'm not on odds checker now. I just gave up on it.
No wonder you can't stick along with what I'm saying. You
all right, I'll go back to odds checker here. But no, honestly, for that range, I guess I'm pretty much good. I was looking at your boy Keegan. I was kind of looking closely at Keegan this week, but what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I got a lot of love for this range. We could start with Keegs. I'm in on Keegs. 60-1. Run it back. Give it to me. Finish T15. Couldn't putt to save his life. Last time he was here for the Farmers, and it really kept him from making a push, which was very frustrating. I can forgive him for the bad iron play at Pebble. It was weird weather. It wasn't a course, even though I did bet him, that I particularly loved him at. This is a course that he's had a lot of success on in his career. And I feel like it's one of the last real good chances for Keegan to get the win that he really wants before the Ryder Cup stuff starts to heat up right around like Augusta and whatnot. And I think maybe API is the only other like long and difficult golf course I think fits his alley. He's never been really good at TPC Sawgrass. So I think this is one last good chance for Keegan. Good total driving ability, long and accurate. The irons have been splendid outside of Pebble Beach throughout this season. So I tailed Keegan for one more week at 60-1. I also backed your boy Jason Day. I got in on Jason Day. Yeah, one more week.
I understand it.
Literally only because, well, 2 things. One, his track record here at Torrey Pines has been phenomenal at Torrey Pines throughout his career. Actually, I have it pulled up here. Let me pull up his stat line. If Jason Day putts well at Torrey Pines, he plays well. is basically what it comes down to. And he finally putt well last time out at Pebble Beach, where I was on him as well. That's when he wore that like the worst golf outfit, the grout fit, on Sunday. And as soon as I saw him walk out with that thing, I'm like, no fucking chance.
He needs to come back out in that thing.
I'm like, no chance this fucking guy's shooting 63 and winning this thing today. But he did gain 2.38 strokes putting, and the putter was like absolutely busted for him, Joey, if you remember us talking about it going into Pebble Beach. So to see him get back and get right with the putter on POA surfaces before heading into this week, I think that was noteworthy. But literally, if you go through Jason Day's Torrey Pines history, like, if he putts well, he's going to finish inside the top 10. If he doesn't, he's probably going to miss the cut. There is a cut this week. Can't forget about that. It's
a little mini cut.
Yeah, it's a mini cut. It's top 50, 72 player field. And if you're within 10 strokes of the lead, you make the cut as well. So only like 10 guys will probably get cut. But if Jason Day putts well, he's going to be right in this bad boy. So I got in at Jason Day 50-1. Felt like a good number. I thought about Will Zalatoris. Just honestly wasn't spiking as well with the irons as I would have hoped for him, but this is a course that makes a lot of sense for Will Zalatoris, so it was it was tough for me to pass up. Victor Hovland I thought was an interesting number, but I think his game is just so unserious right now that I can't do it. I gave Russell Henley a long look at 60-1 as well, but just ultimately
you don't want the models love him? Did they not love him that much this week?
I trust him to finish T7. I don't trust him to win. It's just kind of a different market. So I did pull trigger on Jason Day at 50 and then Keegan Bradley at 60. I do still got a couple of guys in this next range, though. We'll just call it 80 and over because we're probably through halfway on the board here. We're getting to the bombs. I have only about 3 names to shout from the range over 100-1. So, yeah, we'll just call this the 80 in bombs type of range. Who else you got on the card, Joey, that you want to bring up before we wrap things up today?
Yeah, let's start with one of your boys, Mr. Thigala.
Oh, are you going to Sahith?
I'm not sure. Just really hasn't been good enough off the tee or around the green, I think, for me to think he's winning this week. It's a good number, though, but that's
really good number. In California, too. Like, Sahith in California makes sense, but I'm in agreement with you. To see him, I bet him last week at Phoenix, and he's never lost strokes around the green there. He lost 2.5 strokes around the green. And this is like a guy who I love his creativity around the green. That has me concerned. I'm out.
Yeah, I'm also out, even though that's a name that I was like, woo, at first. I'm like, no. Sam Stevens, though, is somebody I will be betting.
Yeah.
Dude, he finished second here, obviously at Torrey Pines just a few weeks ago. 80-1 is where I'm going to bet him at. Yeah, I think, the lesser than type of field, basically, the last time. So can he hold up here against these guys? He still shot it was a tough conditions, probably even tougher than we're going to see this week, I think.
He balled that.
So he was just absolutely on it. He's 12th in strokes gained putting on POA over the last 24 rounds too. I think the irons are going to keep him in it. The off the tee and approach has been good. He's also 11th on strokes gained on long courses. So, I'm in on Sam Stevens there at 80-1. I'm also thinking about betting Harris at 90-1. I got him at 90-1 where I'm looking for Harris English. I think that's really disrespectful for a guy that he just won here. Like
100%.
I don't care that it's 2 weeks removed, 3 weeks removed, and he's coming off a win. He can't do it again. Yeah, he absolutely can, because he came out here and he golfed a hell of a performance that week. So I think 90-1 is just like I have to do it. Who's the other guy here in that 90 range? Oh yeah, Daniel Berger, man. 90-1 Daniel Berger. He missed the cut here, a couple weeks ago. He was awful, but still, I think this is a place that sets up really good for him. It's a course that I think he can play well at, and he's overall been much better lately. T2 last week, obviously, he was on it. Top 10 in a lot of categories last 24 rounds too. He's 3rd in total driving and opportunities gained, 3rd in that 150 to 175 yard bucket, 4th from the 200 to 225 yard bucket, where a lot of these approach shots might be coming from. Top 10 in scrambling and accuracy, tee to green, around the green, and off the tee. He's 12th in my model. I think I actually adjusted it a little bit, so he's 11th. Sorry, he's 11th in my model this week. So I do like Daniel Berger, and I think that's about all I'm going to get to before we get to over 100.
Yeah, I did get to, first off, Sam Stevens, super intriguing. Hits the ball a country mile. Love him in windy conditions, by the way. I don't know if I've ever given this tidbit out. Sam Stevens grew up in Oklahoma, went to Oklahoma State. This boy knows how to play in the wind. Whenever there's windy conditions, I have a buddy. Shout out Pedro. You're familiar with Pedro. I always text Pedro whenever it's windy. I'm like Sam Stevens, first round leader, baby. And the putting upside too. You mentioned how good he puts on POA and like the spike upside in terms of like his ability to gain 3 or 4 strokes. I thought Stevens was super intriguing as well. I ultimately didn't end up getting there, but he was like one of the guy, probably first or second guys left off my card that I really wanted to bet. And you bring up a good point about Harris English too. Like 90-1 is a huge slap in the. I love JT Poston. I'm probably one of the biggest JT Poston fans out there. There is no way on a U.S. Open style golf course that JT Poston should be 80-1 and Harris English should be 90-1. Like that's a misprice 100%. And I'm a huge JT Poston guy. So I understand you wanting to get to that number. I actually did get to Adam Scott 80-1, another guy who I really haven't bet in a long, long time. And I don't really love that he's only played in signature events on the PGA Tour so far this year. I would have liked him to have more reps and like he's one of those guys like a Ricky. Like you want to end this win drought, like go play a different type of fucking field. Like I know you're 44, you have a green jacket, you're this established veteran, like, but if you want to get back in the winner's circle, you can't only play big dog tournaments. So I don't admittedly love that about Adam Scott, but he's playing really well right now and has a really good history at Torrey Pines. He's got 2 top 10 finishes and as many starts at the Farmers Insurance Open, finished T35 at the 2021 U.S. Open here. And the big thing with Adam Scott, like Shane Lowry, the putter, he's gained at least 3 strokes putting in all 3 of his starts at Torrey Pines. The tee to green game has been a little inconsistent to start the year, but he was really good off of the tee at Pebble Beach. His last time out, he was 13th in strokes gained off the tee in a signature event there, and he's only lost strokes off the tee twice in his last 18 starts overall. Regularly gains over 1 stroke, still hits the ball a pretty long way despite only being 44 years old and has that total driving ability. I think he's 26th in this field in distance and 25th in accuracy. So not like elite in either category, but someone who does hit a good amount of fairways and has above average distance. And then I like where his irons are at as well. He gained 2.1 strokes at Pebble Beach last time out, 3.8 strokes at the Century. Again, another signature event. Rick Rungood had him 17th in strokes gain approach over the past 12 rounds, but quite honestly, like looking at his numbers, I don't really know. I feel like he should have been inside the top 10. And I like Adam Scott on hard golf courses as well. He's got 5 wins since his Masters victory in 2013. All of them have been minus 12 or lower, aka in single digits or at 12 or minus 10. So these harder types of events where you don't have to make every single putt, make a ton of birdies, par is a good score. I think that's a good setup for Adam Scott, and he's also sneakily 6th in strokes gained on POA over the past 24 rounds. And I mentioned earlier that's always his Achilles heel. So he was the one between 80 and 100 that I ended up getting to. I mentioned earlier Sam Stevens I really thought about. That was really it that I thought about in between 100. Outside of 100, Joey, I do have 2 bets outside of 100, and I do have a couple of names I wanted to bring up as well, but I'll turn it over to you first. Who you got in this 100 and over type of range, or who do you think is interesting that you wanted to bring up on the show?
Well, first of all, I got to tell you that 80-1 on Adam Scott's a hell of a price. Like, I didn't even find that number, so that's a hell of a price.
You want to hear something great? Shout out to it's Caesars. I used a boost. I always give out numbers like on my betting card and on my like tweets that I give out and on the show. I always give out like the best number that's out there. But there's obviously a ton of boosts and whatnot. I got Adam Scott at 98-1. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, that I would have bet that too. That's pretty damn fair.
That was good.
Did you think that we would even see Corey Connors? I'm seeing a 100-1 out there. Like that to me seems pretty wild because like on on long courses, he's 7th in strokes gained.
It's a Corey Connors course.
Like, I know he's not doing
62nd in my model.
No, he's terrible in my model too. He's like way down there. I don't know. He's 54 in mine. I guess a little bit better, but I still think that's a crazy, crazy number for somebody. I don't know what his actual form has been here recently, but yeah, I don't know. That's a good number. Is he down real bad? I mean, he has to be this price right now. Like, that's the only thing I can think of.
We know Corey Connors can't chip, can't putt, but like right now he really can't chip, can't putt. He lost over 4 strokes around the green and nearly 3 strokes putting last week in Phoenix. Lost almost 7 strokes with a short game.
Yeah, he's done. For now, maybe.
Can't do that here.
Yeah, you can't, especially the around the green. It's not gonna work. I do think though, over this 100 price, I cannot believe. I mean, there was one bet that I had to make, and it's pretty obvious. You could probably guess who it is. At 125, I actually could boost him up to 150 if I choose to use the boost on him. I'm not sure, but the glove, man. I mean, it's 125 to 1, 150 to 1. It's one click. It's no think. It's just click. So
I worry this course is too long for him.
I mean, it probably is, but I think he might be able to hang. I think at that price, he might be able to hang.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
But
you know, I love me some glove.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm just gonna do it from now on. When I see his number, like especially if it's over 100 to 1, like he's probably getting auto bet. And I say that now, and then 2 weeks from now, that's not gonna be the case when he's missing cuts left and right. Like if he misses this little mini cut next week, I'm probably not touching him for a month. But that's just the way I am. The other guy too, I think pretty interesting. I think Justin Rose, it could make a lot of sense this week. Probably not going to bet Rose, but it was somebody I was looking at just a couple weeks ago too, and we had mentioned on here, and he really did have a good tournament. So, yeah, what are your thoughts though over 100 to 1? Outside of that, man, there's too many big dogs in here for me to want to get too long this week.
Yeah, I got a couple of names in here. Justin Rose is a really interesting one. I would say he and Sam Stevens are probably the 2 long shots that got left off my card that I really, really thought about. And what's funny is this is like a similar conversation, similar time of the show that we brought up Justin Rose when he went on to hang at the AT&T Pebble Beach. We're like, oh, there's Justin Rose.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we said that, but we didn't do it. Why did we do that?
And it's another week with cold and windy conditions. The Europeans have been playing amazing on the PGA Tour. Yeah, Justin Rose makes a lot of sense. I stuck with some of my guys, or at least one of my guys. I went back to Gary Woodland, who rates out so well in my model once again. Absolutely just is striping the golf ball right now. The around the green play kind of let him down at Waste Management. He had a really good 4th round and ended up finishing T21, and he's now got 3 consecutive top 22 finishes to begin the new year. All of them, his ball striking has been like unbelievable. And I did bet Gary at the Farmers before he withdrew a couple of weeks ago. So I figured it was only right to run it back with his tee to green play being so good. He does have a decent history at Torrey Pines and in US Open. So Gary Woodland, 130 to 1 was an easy click for me. I do think Andrew Novak is a little interesting. Probably not in the outright market, but maybe in like DFS or top 10. I kind of think the same thing about Michael Kim, who played really well last week at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. This is a guy who has popped at Torrey Pines before. He went to Torrey Pines High School in San Diego, so has played these courses a ton. I don't know if I actually trust Michael Kim to win, even though he is a former PGA Tour winner. But I think you could probably make money some way on Michael Kim. I mentioned Justin Rose. Steven Yeager, his game isn't good right now, but he drives the shit out of the golf ball and has finished runner-up here in the past. Those are some names that I was interested in. Mathieu Pavon, 350 to 1, I think is a disrespectful number.
Jeez, that's 350.
He's won here. Mathieu Pavon won at Torrey Pines.
That's wild.
Wild number. I think there's probably a way to win money on Mathieu Pavon. The guy I did get to, though, and I used it in an interesting way, Joey. There are 200 to 1 numbers out there on this guy, but I actually took him 120 to 1 without Scotty and without Rory. FanDuel and Fanatics both have that market. I took Adam Hadwin, 120 to 1 without Scheffler and McIlroy. A guy who has sneakily played well on long and challenging golf courses in his career. He was third at the Memorial last year, played in the final pairing with Colin Morikawa and Scotty Scheffler on Sunday. He was also T4 at the Genesis Invitational last year and was seventh at the 2022 U.S. Open. And also his lone PGA Tour win came at the Valspar Championship. That's a long and demanding golf course where the winning score typically comes in the single digits. And Hadwin really pieced it together last week. He had his first top 10 of the season. I would know because I had him top Canadian. Unfortunately, Mahomes and the Chiefs let me down in that parlay. But coming off his first top 10, I feel like he should be riding high heading into Torrey Pines. Again, as a Canadian, like very familiar with calm and windy style of conditions. Gained over 8 strokes from tee to green last week, 1.3 strokes with the putter. Doesn't have a crazy track record at Torrey Pines. He has only one top 20 and 8 career starts. But it seems like Hadwin likes this place enough to keep coming back. He's played here 7 of the last 10 years. He's only missed the cut once in his 8 career appearances. And he's gained strokes to the field in 8 of his past 10 rounds overall on the South course. And also has an incredible history on the greens, dude. Out of those 8 starts on these putting surfaces, he's gained at least 3 strokes with the flat stick 6 different times. So he's got the putting upside, which I think can be valuable here on a golf course where it's just super hard to scramble from in general. If you are a guy who can make some 10, 15 footers and like save yourself a stroke or two, like I do think that type of style is a little bit interesting this week. And I mentioned Hadwin, like, even though he doesn't hit the golf ball far, I notice he can gain strokes off the tee on these long and challenging courses because he hits it just far enough and hits a lot of fairways. So kind of how you want to go about it. If you want to get gutsy and think Adam Hadwin can win at 200 to 1, I don't blame you. And I do hate like leaving money on the table there. But I feel like 120 to 1 is still good enough odds. Like if Adam Hadwin was 120 to 1 in the regular market, I don't think anyone would bat an eye at it. I think people would think that's a normal number. So that's why it was like easier for me to take him at 120 to 1 without Scotty and Rory, knowing like it's still going to be a good payday if he does win. Yeah, it sucks I missed out on the 200, but I'm still cashing in a 120 to 1 ticket, and I have some security in case he does finish runner-up to the world number 1 or number 2 player.
I don't mind it. Yeah, I mean, because I think that it's probably Morikawa winning this week, I would probably just bet him outright. But because he's not involved in that without Scotty or Rory.
Yeah, I understand.
But no, I mean, that's a lot of points that you said there. I mean, he's putting really well on POA. I mean, I think this is a very good spot for Adam Hadwin. So, yeah, I don't mind it at all.
I mean, he could finish easily in the 60s, but there's the upside that has you believing that he can hang around with the big dogs. And again, I don't really think he can beat the big dogs, but I don't necessarily need him to beat the big dogs. So that's what I got to round out the card this week. Mathieu Pavon, 350 to 1, though, was a really interesting number. One of those you throw $2 on. I don't expect him to win a signature event, but he did win at Torrey Pines, and he was 4th at the U.S. Open last year. So, like, he can play on these types of golf courses, but
he could step up, yeah.
That's all I got for this week, Joey. You got anything else before we wrap this bad boy up?
Got a hammer.
You got a
absolute
prop?
Hammer, a whale play.
What do you got?
Max Homa outright. No, I'm just playing. I got nothing, man. That's it. That's all I got. I don't even have any props yet. I might do a matchup. I mean, we could look real quick, but yeah, I mean, this isn't really the week that I probably want to mess around too much because honestly, I just want to get an outright right now. Like that's my main focus this week. I don't know if something jumps out at me, I'll probably just tweet it out. But yeah, man, you got any props? You got a like top Canadian or?
I was looking.
Like
I actually did take a gander at him. I was thinking of taking Victor top Nordic. It was like plus 200, and I'm like, he's got like 2 other guys he's playing in that market, but nothing really that jumped out too much to me. Nothing really enticing me like it was last week with the Super Bowl and doing those crossover parlays. It would have been great to have one of those bad boys hit, and maybe we'll do another one in the future coming up. Maybe when it's like Masters week. That's usually when we get more involved in the prop market and whatnot. But usually when we kind of get an extra boost when it's a big week.
You know what? Masters week, it's always right around the time, though, opening day, baseball, like right around there. I think this year what I'm going to do is something wild. Like I'm going to have a future bet on baseball, possibly a World Series ticket, maybe like a future MVP ticket or something. And I'm going to parlay it with like an outright or like a a top 40 or top 10 or something for the Masters. And it's going to be a long ass wait, dude. That's the one thing that I'm going to hate is like having such a long wait from the Masters
You
to.
literally got to wait till football season.
But that's fine though, like just something to like sit and monitor the whole time. Now, if that thing gets shot immediately, then I'm waiting for nothing. It's just like, all right, well, lost. Money's lost. But it'll be fun to like sit there and be like, oh, I might have it. I might have Cubs to make the playoffs. Like, what's that plus? I don't know. I should probably look at it. But it's probably not even that good of odds now because I think they're actually projected to make the playoffs. By the way, I put the Cubs, the Bears hat back on because now that the Super Bowl's over, it's like a new year started and we actually have a chance. This is when the Bears are good, Jack. Like draft time and the offseason, this is when everyone gets hyped and we feel like we have a shot. And then next year we're fucked again.
This is the time of the year when we reign supreme, and we will enjoy it for as long as we can before opening day. But I think that's going to close out this episode of Golf on Tap. To everyone who tuned in, thank you very much. Best of luck this week at Torrey Pines for the Genesis Invitational 2025. Hope you cashed some tickets alongside us and hope you found some of the stuff that we talked about in today's episode interesting and helpful. If that is the case, make sure to go and subscribe to On Tap Sportsnet over on YouTube. Follow Golf on Tap as well wherever you may be listening to your podcast. That way you can catch us if you're not able to join live. Go and check out On Tap Sportsnet as well for all of the latest golf news. We got everything Chicago sports as well. Bears, Bulls, Cubs, Blackhawks, White Sox, beers reviews, movie reviews, tons of good stuff over at ontapsportsnet.com. Until next time, everyone, best of luck. Crack 'em, lock 'em. Joey, your time to shine.